Welcome to a special edition of the Liberati Podcast. I'm your host and virtual tour guide, Ryan, and we're here on Fifth Avenue approaching the magnificent Metropolitan Museum of Art. This has been a research project that I've been working on for a very long time. We're going to go on a deep dive today. Welcome to the truth about the truth. If you have visited the Met, you understand why it's so special. It's like a religious experience without religion. This is one of the world's great temples dedicated to art and culture. 2 million square feet, 2 million works of art spanning the globe from the Islamic world, pre-Columbian America, Impressionism, Asian art, European paintings, the decorative arts like Fabergé eggs. There's something for everyone. Do you have a favorite work of art at the Met? Feel free to share in the comments below. For Jehovah's Witnesses, the real treasures at the Met are any artifacts from antiquity or works of art that have a biblical significance and that prove or reinforce that they have the truth. For nearly 7 years, I was a volunteer tour guide giving biblical tours for Jehovah's Witnesses. I began when I was at Bethel, and then when I left Bethel, this is what I did to pay the bills. Just to highlight how important the Bible tours at the Met are to witnesses, the impact, evidence of the fulfillment of Bible prophecy, faith strengthening, life altering, very impactful. It was ironically exploring the Met's galleries, my curiosity, that led me to the unlikely discovery of the truth about the truth. But before we get into that, what is a Bible tour like at the Met? Well, welcome to the Greek and Roman art collection. There's the Graces looking very graceful. We're coming up on a big boy, 9 foot tall Roman version of the Greek hero Heracles or Hercules. Here we have a JW tour group, and if you visit the Met, I still do art history tours at the Met, and I see dozens of groups each week, sometimes in a single day. These Bible tours by and for Jehovah's Witnesses are wildly popular. There's a misconception that the Watchtower, the organization, coordinates the tours, but that's not true. It's independent third-party JW tour companies that organize these tours. You're about to see why. There's a lot of money involved here. The big company at the Met, they give around 90% of the JW Bible tours. I will refer to as Mirage because that's in truth what they are. They are a Mirage. Mirage charges $11 each person for a booking fee, and then that's in addition. You have to pay another $28 for your Met entry ticket, and you're kind of expected to give $10 to $20 to your volunteer tour guide. Mirage doesn't pay them a penny, but gratuity, a tour guide, if you're good, you can make around $200 a tour because you have around 10 people in your group at least. So people are willing to pay, witnesses are willing to pay around $50 or more per person. And Mirage, each group, they have 10 people in the group, that's $110. So there's some good money there. And there's actually there's 3 different tour companies at the Met battling it out, all JW owned, and they despise each other because it's business and they're competing for business at the Met. So that's the truth about the JW Bible tours. Now, what is the tour guide breaking down here? He's getting into it. Well, he's likely quoting Genesis 6, verse 4, where it speaks of the Nephilim, who, of course, were sons of fallen angels. They forsook their positions in heaven to have relations with the daughters of men, took as many wives as they wanted, got it on, and they had these hybrid offspring with superpowers. And so they were men of fame. They filled the earth with violence. And so the tour guide is claiming that Hercules is one of the Nephilim because his father was Zeus, a god who had relations with a mortal, and his son had superpowers. So they're claiming that Hercules is a distortion of Bible truth found in Greek mythology. Of course, that's a stretch. That's sensational. It's not based on history or archaeology. It's just cherry picking an artifact and trying to draw a biblical connection. What they don't mention, by the way, is that there's a lot of parallels with biblical Samson and Hercules. In fact, he has the lion skin there, Hercules, the sculpture. You remember one of Samson's great feats was tearing a lion in two with his bare hands, but they don't mention that. They only mention the Nephilim. So that's just an example of what a JW Bible tour is like. Again, Jehovah's Witnesses boldly brand their faith as the truth. The Met is proof conclusive, these artifacts, these works of art, that they have the truth. And speaking of which, we're in the Italian Renaissance, and we have this very interesting portrait of a man holding a Hebrew tablet. And according to the Met, this work of art from 1575, there was a large Jewish community in the Renaissance. And the tablet says the Torah of Moses is the truth. Now I'm going to ignore the pinky ring that he's wearing because that's kind of bizarre. But the three fingers on his right hand are pointing to the Hebrew word for truth, emet. In Hebrew, three letters, aleph, mem, and tav, emet, truth. Some claim that Hebrew has divine inspiration, that it's a sacred language. I don't know about that, but I do know Hebrew is an ancient language, and there's 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet, and the word truth is very special, significant, because emet is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, aleph, the middle letter, mem, and the last letter, tav. And so that is profound because if something is the truth, absolute, unequivocal, emet, it will stand the test of time. It is the truth, emet, in the past, in aleph. It is the truth, emet, in the present, mem. And it will be the truth, emet, in the future, tav. So I thought this would be a nice introduction to the presentation, The Truth, emet, about the truth. Does Watchtower, the truth that Watchtower teaches, stand the test of time? Is it really emet? So today on our presentation, TAT at the Met, there's two parts. Part one, Watchtower Chronology versus Archaeology. Part two, we'll just touch on briefly the Bible itself in comparative mythology. We could do a whole presentation about that, but we'll just touch on that briefly. So let's get into it. We're here in the Italian Renaissance. Back to the beginning. Ladies and gentlemen, the perfect man awaits you. Adam, but his manhood is covered. This is a masterpiece by Tullio Lombardo, marble sculpture. Adam's holding the forbidden fruit, about to take a bite. Now, according to Watchtower, the creation of Adam, and this is a beautiful stained glass panel in the Met's collection from the Swiss room. You even have the tetragrammaton there. Jod He Vav He, let us make man in our image. According to Watchtower, the creation of Adam took place in precisely 4026 BCE. That's just 6,050 years ago. Remember, in 1975 was going to be the 6,000-year anniversary of the creation of Adam, and Watchtower made a big deal about 1975 because, stay alive till 1975, the 6,000 years of creation. It was expected that the millennial reign of Christ would begin. That was a disappointment, but at least we stayed alive till 2025. Happy 6,050-year anniversary of the creation of Adam. There's just one problem. What we're about to see blows Watchtower's date out of the water. So here we are entering the impressive Arms and Armor collection. And this right here, this flint biface, is the oldest artifact at the Met. And this shatters Watchtower's date. This biface is dated from the Paleolithic age, 700,000 to 200,000 BCE. Wow. Now, if you type in Paleolithic in Watchtower, there's only in Watchtower Library, There's only like two references from the 1950s. But the Paleolithic age is is a really long time period. From 2.5 million years ago it began until just 12,000 years ago. And there were at least nine archaic humans from that period, including Homo neanderthal. I recently discovered I'm 2% Neanderthal, and they fabricated tools. So this may have been made by a Homo neanderthal. So now if you type in Paleolithic in the Met's online database, there are 85 results for the Paleolithic period just at the Met, artifacts that are hundreds of thousands of years old, which of course is a long time before the creation of Adam. But there's more. Let's go into the new Stone Age, the Neolithic. And there's a mystery of history as we enter the Greek and Roman galleries. They almost look like modern works of art by Picasso, but these are called cycladic sculptures. They're marble and they're carved and they're just these enigmatic, mysterious figures. Here we have the Neolithic Venus, and she has some curves, some dangerous curves. This is like the Neolithic Eve, because look at the date. This marble female figure is dated before the creation of Adam, according to Watchtower. Wow. So this is the final Neolithic age. This is 6,500 years old. I always see JW tour guides from Mirage blasting this piece, saying it's a disgusting pagan sex goddess, Babylon the Great, the whore of Babylon, right? And talking about immorality, and they don't read the description though and see the date. This is dated before the creation of Adam. The Neolithic age, by the way, it began 12,000 years ago, and it ended with the beginning of the Bronze Age 5,000 years ago. If you type in Neolithic in Watchtower Library, not one reference. If you type it in the Met's online collection, there are 652 artifacts from the Neolithic age. So we're talking hundreds, over 700 artifacts at the Met that predate Watchtower's date for the creation of Adam. But there's more. We now will consider a flood of evidence that debunks the date Watchtower gives for Noah's flood. Now, according to Watchtower, in Insight Book, page 609 of Volume 1, the catastrophic destruction of men and animals by an overwhelming flood, a global flood, in the days of Noah took place just around 4,400 years ago, 2370 BCE, which is in the middle of the Bronze Age, as we're about to see. So there's a flood of evidence at the Met that shows that there has been continuous civilization all around the world during that time period. Here we are in a collection of the ancient Near East, which those galleries are under renovation, but we have this captivating little action figure from ancient Mesopotamia. And if you have taken a Mirage Bible tour, please share in the comments below what your tour guide said about this little guy, this horny little guy. It's identified as a striding figure with ibex horns, a raptor skin, and upturned boots. And look at the date, 3000 BCE. I have heard some sensational claims about this piece. They have said it's the oldest artifact at the Met, which not even close. They have said that it survived the flood. I don't know if Noah's one of his sons brought this action figure on the ark to play with. But it's not even the oldest artifact. It's from the Bronze Age, Proto-Elamite period. There's a bowl here, or a cup, that is actually 1,000 years older, right next to the striding figure. But again, this is from the Bronze Age, right in the middle of the Bronze Age, and it's dated over 600 years before the flood. We're here in the Great Hall. This is a very impressive colossal of Pharaoh Amenemhat II. And we're going to walk like an Egyptian into Egypt. When you enter the Egyptian collection, you will see the only Old Kingdom tomb from ancient Egypt. in the Western Hemisphere, the tomb of Perneb. And these limestone blocks, some weigh 2 tons, finely cut and carved to lock neatly in place, no mortar. And a fun fact about the tomb of Perneb, it was in a Sesame Street special. Don't eat the pictures. Sesame Street spent the night at the museum. Cookie Monster wanted to eat the art because he was hungry, like the Saisons. And Big Bird and Snuffleupagus helped a little prince who would come to life each night at the tomb of Perneb. They helped the little prince reunite with his family in the afterlife. So I would highly recommend, if you love the Met, check out this documentary. I'll share a link in the description below. The tomb of Perneb, who, by the way, was the fashion designer of the pharaoh, and now he's at the Met, the first Monday of May for the Met Gala. But Perneb was saving up for his house of eternity, and he was building his tomb while Noah was building the ark. Again, if JW tour groups or tour guides would read the description at the Met, the dates, they would see where they're starting their Bible tours here in Egypt, that this tomb was under construction during the flood of Noah, at least according to Watchtower, 2381 BCE. I guess Perneb did not get the memo. He was building his tomb instead of the ark. But there's more. In fact, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of artifacts in Egypt and the Egyptian galleries alone that predate the flood and prove that there was a civilization continuing, ongoing. Here we have some beautiful jars, some pottery, and these are prehistoric from the Naqada second period, dated to 3600 BCE, nearly 1,000 years before the flood. This little lion cub, also early dynastic, it looks like Simba. We'll talk about the Egyptian Lion King later on. But the lion cub, look at the date, 3100 BCE. I don't know if he's one of the little lion cubs that Noah brought on the ark, but that's pre-flood. And then these, one of my favorite display cases in the Egyptian art collection, they're alabaster, finely carved stone vessels, and they have a translucent quality, so they have the display case illuminated. Look at the date. Nearly 300 years, nearly 400 years before the flood of Noah. And then these beautiful turquoise tiles are around 300 years before the flood. And then this is one of my favorite hidden gems at the Met. This wooden statue is the oldest artist that we know by name at the Met. His name is Kai-Punasut, and it's on his belt, the hieroglyphs. Kai-Punasut was the royal carpenter of the pharaoh. He was good with wood, and he carved this statue to be a portal for his soul in the afterlife. And his statue, look at the date. Wow, 2528 BCE. So over 200 years. I don't know if Kai-Punasut helped Noah build the ark, but his statue is made of acacia wood, which is mentioned in the Hebrew Bible. That's the material that the ark, the sacred ark of the covenant, was made of, and overlaid in pure gold. It's not just Egypt. Again, all around the world, there's evidence of continuous civilization during the time of the flood, according to Watchtower. So welcome to Asia. This is the Medicine Buddha in an Eastern Pure Land, the largest painting at the Met. And another mystery of history, we have the Chinese bagels or donuts. These are from China, modern China, but they are from the final Neolithic age. They're ritual objects, finely carved jade. Beautiful. They don't know what they were used for. They were found in burials. And so I like to call them Chinese donuts. But beautiful works of art. They were made just 30 years before the flood, according to Watchtower. So I don't know if Noah and his family brought those on the ark as well. What's our takeaway from this first section? Well, what is our emets at the Met? Watchtower has failed the test of time. There is a flood of evidence that predates the creation of Adam that Watchtower places in 4026. Look at the Paleolithic artifacts, the Neolithic artifacts. We were in the Stone Age, 99.8% of our history. Mankind has been on Earth, on the planet, much longer than 6,000 years ago. That is the truth about the truth. And what about the flood? There are hundreds, if not thousands, of artifacts that predate the deluge of Noah. We continue our journey through space and time, and we have this impressive model of Solomon's temple. There's a barbecue, a kosher barbecue here. And this model, very impressive, though it's not really technically accurate if you read the Bible's description of Solomon's temple, but it looks really cool. Here's a key scripture. In the 19th year of King Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, he burned down the house of Jehovah, 2 Kings 25, 8 and 9. According to Jehovah's Witnesses, the 19th year of King Nebuchadnezzar, when he destroyed the temple, was 607 BCE. And the fulfillment of the 7 times prophecy of Daniel, when there would be a restoration of the Davidic line and God's kingdom would take over, the end of the Gentile times have ended, that was in 1914. But there's just one problem. Jerusalem was not destroyed in 607 BCE. What do we have at the Met from Nebuchadnezzar that can prove this? Well, we're back in the ancient Near Eastern collection, and we have a cuneiform tablet from the reign of Nebuchadnezzar. And look at the date that the Met gives for his reign, 604 to 562 BCE. What does Watchtower say about the reign of Nebuchadnezzar? 624 to 582, purposely moving it back 20 years. Because remember, it's the 19th year of his reign that he destroyed the temple. Now this document, this cuneiform tablet, or little cylinder, Nebuchadnezzar is boasting about Babylon, the great building projects of Babylon. Is this not Babylon the Great that I have built for the glory of my majesty? It's very reminiscent of Daniel chapter 4, verse 30. So he was kind of full of it and he was humbled. He had to eat grass for 7 years. So that, according to Watchtower, was the original fulfillment of this prophecy. Then he was restored. But we have more artifacts at the Met from this time period, from the Neo-Babylonian period, from the reign of Nebuchadnezzar. For example, the lions from Babylon's processional way, which was like Fifth Avenue. Babylon was like New York City. The lion here is dated to the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, 604 to 562. And then you have the Mushushu dragon, which was on display for many years at the Met, and it's been returned to Germany now, but 604 to 562, the reign of Nebuchadnezzar. Now, this is the archaeology. His reign was 604 to 562. So if we do the math, in the 19th year of King Nebuchadnezzar, so he's reigned for 18 full years. The fall of Jerusalem, you subtract 18 full years from 604, the fall of Jerusalem was 586, 587. There's more evidence that proves that the destruction of Jerusalem was not in 607. It was in 587. There's more tat at the Met. Look at this cup of the King of Kings. How would you like to have a glass of wine in this cup? This belonged to Darius the Great, King of Persia. Dated his reign 521 to 486. Now, according to Watchtower, Insight on the Scriptures, Volume 1, page 583 and 4, Darius reigned. He began to reign in 521, just like the Met says, because in the 6th year of his reign, the Jewish people, the remnant who returned to Jerusalem, rebuilt the temple in the 6th year of his reign. So that means that he began to reign in 521, just like the Met says. So Watchtower agrees that Darius began to reign in 521. But here's the key scripture. By the way, Darius worshipped Mazda, not Toyota or Honda. And Mazda was a benevolent god, tolerant. Watchtower could be more tolerant, but he allowed freedom of religion, freedom of expression, and allowed the Jews to rebuild their temple. So we need more tolerance. In the 4th year of King Darius, The word of Jehovah came to me saying, when you fasted in the fifth month for 70 years, did you really fast for me? Zechariah chapter 7 is another key piece of evidence that the Temple of Jerusalem was destroyed not in 607, but in 587, because the Jewish people were fasting, mourning the destruction of the temple for 70 years. The fourth year of Darius was 517. You add 70 years to that, and boom, 587 is the date of the destruction of Jerusalem. There's a mountain of archaeological evidence that proves Jerusalem was destroyed in 587. The writing is on the wall. The Emmet at the Met. Jerusalem was not destroyed in 607. It was destroyed in 587. Watchtower has purposely changed that date to fit their agenda because 1914 is based on 607. They put the lie in library. But there's more. And I feel personally there needs to be more attention given. It's not just 607 that Watchtower is lying about. It's the entire Neo-Assyrian and Neo-Babylonian period. And in this presentation, I'll just talk about four key events that took place in the Neo-Assyrian and Neo-Babylonian period, namely the fall of Samaria, the northern capital of Israel, to the Assyrians, later the fall of Nineveh to the Medes and Babylonians, the Battle of Megiddo, when King Josiah was killed by Pharaoh Necho, and the Battle of Carchemish, when Pharaoh Necho was defeated by Crown Prince Nebuchadnezzar. These four dates Watchtower has blatantly changed exactly 20 years off to fit their 1914 agenda. Let's get into it. So the fall of Samaria, according to Watchtower, Volume 1 of Insight Book 204, Sargon the Great was the king of Assyria by the time Samaria fell in 740 BCE. So Watchtower says Samaria fell in 740 BCE. Now at the Met, we have reliefs from the palace of Sargon the Great, including this eunuch, which I was a eunuch for the Lord for many years, but it's not all that it's cracked up to be. But there's a eunuch from the palace of Sargon the Great. Sargon the Second, I should say. Sargon the Second, he wasn't really that great. But Sargon the Second reigned 721 to 705. So no, it was not 740. He didn't begin to reign until 721. It was 720. If you look at any reference, the fall of Samaria, 720 BCE. Watchtower blatantly changes that date by 20 years. There's more. The fall of Nineveh. The capture of Nineveh, according to Watchtower, Insight Book Volume 2, 505, was 632 BCE. But what does the archaeology state? We have some panels from the Palace of Sennacherib. And one of these panels is a crown prince that has been defaced by the invading Babylonian armies. And look what the Met says. The figure's face appears to be chiseled away following the sack of Nineveh, not in 632. The fall of Nineveh was in 612. Once again, Watchtower blatantly changing time to fit their agenda. There's more, though. Welcome to Armageddon. Here we are at Tel Megiddo. This was a very strategic location. So we have the gates of Megiddo, and Megiddo is right along the Via Maris, and that was between empires. So if you controlled the Via Maris, the way of the sea, you controlled the trade routes. So a lot of important battles, pivotal battles were fought at Megiddo. In fact, Tel Megiddo, the city of Megiddo is on a hill at Tel. Tel Megiddo was destroyed and rebuilt over 25 times. So it's a fitting symbol of a great battle, Armageddon. So visiting Megiddo was very cathartic and just helped me with my deconstruction and not fearing the end of the world. Now, according to the Bible, Necho, a pharaoh, was heading north, but King Josiah tried to turn him back at Megiddo, and he was killed in battle, the Battle of Megiddo, in 629 BCE. This is according to Insight on the Scriptures. All right, if you look at any archaeological reference, any historical reference, the Battle of Megiddo, they say, is 609. Uh-oh. There's another historical event that is connected to Necho, Pharaoh Necho. In 625, after he defeated Josiah, he is defeated at Carchemish by Nebuchadnezzar. 625 is what they say, Watchtower says, but history says 605. So we have to find Necho to find the truth about the truth. So welcome to Egypt. Necho is one of 4 or 5 pharaohs mentioned by name in the Bible. You can tell if a pharaoh is legit in the Bible if they tell you his name. If they don't tell you his name, the Bible story is probably a legend. So this little silver statuette is a royal woman from the house of Necho. The cartouche says Necho. And Necho reigned from 610 to 595 BCE. Uh-oh. The Battle of Megiddo, therefore, could not have been in 629. He was just a little boy or wasn't even born. It was 609. The Battle of Carchemish was 605. We also have, from Necho, this lion, which is very interesting because it's dated to the reign of Necho, 610 to 6 to 595. And look what the Met says about the little lion. It says that this was probably styled elements inspired by the styles, artistic styles from the Near East when Necho was on this military campaign in the Syro-Hittite area. And look at this. Between 609 and 605, Necho's troops fought at Haran, so that's the city just north of Megiddo, and Carchemish. So once again, Watchtower has altered time to fit their agenda. The Battle of Megiddo was not 629, it was 609. The Battle of Carchemish with Necho was not 625, it was 605. These dates matter because our entire reality was based on 1914, the belief that we are living in the last days. These are very important dates. So, what's our takeaway? What is the tat? What is the emmet at the Met? Watchtower's intellectual dishonesty is really scary. Now we'll just touch briefly on the Bible itself in comparative mythology. We're back in Egypt, and we have my favorite mummy who's drop dead gorgeous, Artemidora. She's one of 13 mummies at the Met. No daddies, just mummies. And Artemidora is from the Roman period, but there's a fusion of belief with the Egyptian mythology fuses with the Greek and Roman mythology, and some would say with the Judeo-Christian tradition. But this is just an example of how influential mythology, these stories truly are. And we have 3 deities on in gold leaf decorating Artemidora's mummy. And these 3, most Egyptian mythology surrounds around the holy family of Osiris, Isis, and Horus. And they are none other than the inspiration for Disney's The Lion King. Osiris is Mufasa, Isis is Sarabi, and Horus is Simba. So the Lion King is based on ancient Egyptian mythology, copied and pasted. It's one of the greatest stories ever told of good versus evil. So could it be that the Bible itself is influenced by mythology? Well, we have another iconic symbol. Here we have a beautiful relief over 4,000 years old at the Met. We have Horus, the mighty falcon. That's the son of Isis and Osiris. Horus is Simba, and he's giving the pharaoh the key of life, immortality. The Ankh is an iconic symbol from ancient Egypt. But what does the Watchtower say about the Egyptian cross, the Ankh? It is a disgusting pagan sex symbol, according to Watchtower, representing the union of the male and female procreative organs. Oh, now keep that in mind. Keep that in your back pocket. Another symbol that's iconic from ancient Egypt mythological symbol that if you visited any museum with an Egyptian collection, you have seen this. The ancient Egyptians were huge beetle fans. The scarab beetle, a symbol of the rising sun, creation and recreation. It's a fitting symbol of creation because the most abundant life form on Earth are beetles. Around 30% of all life on Earth are beetles. So we should all be beetle fans. Now, the dung beetle, the winged sun disk, and the ankh were both discovered on the impression of King Hezekiah of Judah's seal. Uh-oh. This is 2009 that this was discovered. And it says, belonging to Hezekiah, son of Ahaz, king of Judah. And on the seal of Hezekiah, the supposed faithful king, these supposedly disgusting pagan symbols are on the seal of faithful King Hezekiah of Judah. I can guarantee you, Watchtower will never have this important biblical archaeological discovery featured in a Watchtower or on JW Broadcasting. They are going to sweep this under the rug because it's awkward. We got some pagan on faithful King Hezekiah's seal ring. There's more. To wrap up, we're here at the Temple of Dender, one of the most visually stunning spaces at the Met. And, look at how the natural light comes through. Above each temple is the iconic winged sun disk of Horus, the mighty falcon, god of light and justice and order. He's Simba from the Egyptian Lion King. And this winged sun disk appears throughout popular culture. It's an iconic symbol that you've seen in many places in pop culture. Who else was a fan of these ancient Egyptian pagan symbols? Charles Taze Russell, the founder of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Pennsylvania. And on his book, The Studies in the Scriptures, The Divine Plan of the Ages, look what appears. That same so-called pagan symbol from Egyptian mythology. Russell believed that the Pyramid of Giza, the Great Pyramid of Giza, was the Bible itself written in stone. And there was even this method of measuring the pyramid to discern where we were in the stream of time. And it would even foretell 1914, his final resting place. There was a pyramid that's been destroyed by vandals, and Watchtower took it away because they may be trying to sweep this under the rug. But the truth is that, these are some pagan symbols here on, the founders on the Watchtower. So when I was giving tours, this bothered my conscience. I'm like, why is this book, The Origins of Watchtower, have these pagan symbols on it? Right on the other side of the temple is actually another symbol from mythology. We're in the year of the snake, and we have the rod of Asclepius. So this temple at the Met was actually built by Caesar Augustus of Rome. And this is from Greek mythology, the god of healing, Asclepius. And you see that a symbol in the medical field today. Where do you see this in the Bible? Moses lifted up a copper serpent to heal the people. Is this another example of how mythology finds its way into the Bible? I don't know. You be the judge. But a snake is a fitting symbol of regeneration, healing. We're in the year of the snake, so it's a good year to heal and grow. To conclude, our Emmets at the Met, when it comes to Watchtower and the Bible, they can't handle the truth. There's a lot of mythology in the Bible and in Watchtower's origins. I used to see the world in black and white, but now I see the world in color, and I'm really grateful to be free from religious fear and control, and the Met is a big reason why. I would recommend, if you have the chance, there's a beautiful book that really captures the essence of the Metropolitan Museum of Art, All the Beauty in the World by Patrick Bringley, who was a security guard I would often see when doing these biblical tours at the Met. And one of my favorite quotes from All the Beauty in the World Think brave thoughts, searching thoughts, painful thoughts, not to arrive at right answers or the truth, but to better understand the human mind and heart as you put both to use. I'm so grateful to meet open-minded, open-hearted people from all over the world each week and give them highlights tours of the Met. If you're ever in New York City, if you'd ever like a highlights tour, please feel free to reach out. If you are in the process of awakening, breaking the chains of cult mind control, it's a painful journey, but freedom is beautiful. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. The truth about the truth will set you free.